Imagine going to work at a millionaire's house and suddenly finding your lost son from 4 years ago. Lorraine, a young woman, had just given birth to her first child, and moments later, he was taken from her arms by someone who was supposed to care for her at her time of greatest need. Lorraine cannot believe she was overly sedated by a woman posing as a nurse, who was actually there with the sole purpose of taking her baby away. Since discovering her pregnancy, Lorraine found herself confronted with a new reality. The news, which should have been a cause for joy and celebration, was met with shock and disapproval from her parents. The rejection she faced at home left her devastated, but Lorraine decided that this new life growing inside her deserved love and care, regardless of the circumstances. Even alone, without support from the child's father and having been kicked out of her parents' home, Lorraine faced each day with determination. Feeling abandoned, Lorraine sought work wherever she could find it. She took on domestic tasks in affluent households, a grueling job that often left her exhausted. The daily effort was a testament to her determination to provide a dignified future for her child. Her belly grew, and with it grew Lauren's connection to the little being she had yet to meet. The lonely nights were filled with dreams and fears. Lorraine talked to herself, to the baby, to God. Her hopes and fears mingled as she imagined life after the birth. Sometimes, uncertainty overwhelmed her, but the constant movement of the baby inside her was a steady reminder that something very special was happening. However, the work was a constant reminder of the inequality of her situation. Cleaning, cooking, caring for other people's children while carrying her own. Sometimes, loneliness weighed heavily on her, and tears flowed when she was alone in her makeshift room. Lorraine developed a strength she didn't know she possessed. Yet every penny she earned was invested in her baby's future. She saved every dime to buy diapers, clothes, and even started saving for a stroller. The idea of holding her child in her arms kept her going. She found herself talking to her belly, sharing with her baby about the outside world, about her dreams, about the stars in the sky. When her mind wandered to the past, she remembered her childhood and promises of eternal love that now seemed so distant. Time passed and Lauren's belly grew. Every kick from the baby was a blessing. She clung to these moments of joy to push away the fears and uncertainties that haunted her. Lorraine wondered if she would be able to offer her child a better world than the one she had known. As the day of birth approached, Lorraine faced a tide of emotions with a mix of anxiety and hope. With the help of a few close friends she had made along the way, she managed to prepare a cozy corner to welcome her child. And then, on a sunny day that seemed laden with meaning, Lorraine gave birth. The moment she saw that fragile and perfect face, all the fears and challenges of the past months seemed to fade away. She held him in her arms, feeling a wave of love that transcended everything she had ever felt. From that moment on, Lauren's life gained a new purpose. To care for, protect, and love that fragile, defenseless, and innocent being. The experience of giving birth should have been one of the most sacred and precious moments in Lauren's life, but instead, it turned into a whirlwind of confusion and despair. While still recovering from childbirth, enveloped in a state of physical and emotional vulnerability, Lorraine saw her baby abruptly taken from her arms by a stranger posing as a nurse. The feeling of powerlessness and shock intertwined with the haze of sedation that Lorraine felt. She tried to fight against the numbing effects, trying to understand what was happening around her. Lauren's heart raced in panic, her hands desperately seeking the comforting warmth of her newborn, now taken far away. Who was that woman? What did she want with her baby? Confused and fearful thoughts raced through Lauren's mind as she tried to process the terrible turn of events. She felt betrayed by the person she should have trusted in the most intimate and sacred moment of her life. As Lorraine struggled against the sedation, flashes of those first moments with her baby flooded her mind. She remembered the first cry, the gentle touch of the tiny hand holding her finger. Now, all of that seemed distant and threatened. Feelings of anguish and helplessness consumed Lorraine. She wanted to scream, but her voice seemed stuck in her throat. Seconds dragged on like hours as she tried to understand what had happened. Why would someone steal her baby?
Lauren's vulnerability was like an open wound. She felt exposed, unprotected, at the mercy of strangers. The trust she had placed in the people around her was now in ruins. The emotional pain was sharper than any physical discomfort she could feel. Still under the effects of sedation, Lauren's mind struggled to process the distorted reality around her. She longed for the moment when she would have her son back in her arms, safe and protected. The fake nurse, with her malicious intentions, was everything Lauren had never imagined she would encounter during her child's birth. She had trusted the medical team to care for her and her baby, only to be betrayed so deceitfully. As time dragged on, Lauren clung to hope that this was all a terrible mistake. Perhaps there was a plausible explanation for what had happened. Lauren wanted to be able to rise, confront the intruder, and demand an explanation. But her physical weakness kept her immobilized. She felt like a prisoner of her own condition, a mother whose child had been taken from her before she even had the chance to hold him for long. The confusion from the sedation gave way to excruciating pain. As soon as she could, she reported the theft of her newborn to the police. Security cameras were checked, witnesses interviewed, but it all led to dead ends. The woman who posed as a nurse left no trace. The world around Lauren kept spinning, while she remained stagnant in the endless search for her lost child. She wondered if she would ever feel that embrace again, the innocent gaze of a child she never got to know. Lauren never gave up on finding her baby. But at the same time, she needed to keep working to survive. In one of those job interviews, Lauren interviewed to work as a housekeeper in the mansion of a millionaire named Carlos. With her heart full of hope and a knot of anxiety in her throat, she prayed that he would hire her. Being accepted as a housekeeper in this luxurious residence represented more than just a job opportunity. It was a step towards a fresh start, a chance to find some stability after turbulent years searching for her lost child. After being hired, she wondered about the mysterious man who lived there. Mr. Carlos, with his unknown reputation, sparked curiosity and a bit of caution in Lauren. Inside the mansion, Lauren was introduced to her duties as a housekeeper. The grandeur of the rooms contrasted with the simplicity Lauren carried within herself. Every task performed in that house was an opportunity to feel useful, to momentarily push away the pain that had accompanied her since the loss of her child. As Lauren carried out her daily responsibilities, she couldn't help but think about what could have been if her son were by her side. She found herself recalling the first moments after giving birth, the comforting warmth of the tiny body in her arms. The open wound in her heart continued to bleed, but Lauren needed to stay strong. On her very first day working as a housekeeper in Mr. Carlos's luxurious mansion, Lauren was introduced to his son, a lively 4-year-old named Andrew. As Lauren gazed upon the boy's face, an inexplicable shiver ran down her spine. A sense of familiarity enveloped her, leaving her intrigued and curious. Andrew was an adorable child, with curious eyes and an innocent smile. His golden curls danced in the wind as he ran through the mansion's corridors, spreading joy wherever he went. But for Lauren, there was something more. Something in that child's face reminded her of her own lost son. While caring for Andrew and carrying out her tasks in the house, Lauren found herself watching the boy with a mix of maternal love and puzzlement. Each gesture, each expression of the boy evoked a deep longing in Lauren, as if she were standing before a mirror of the past. Days unfolded slowly as Lauren tried to unravel the mystery that was Andrew. Could it be possible that this boy was somehow connected to her own son? She found herself wondering if Andrew could be a key to unlocking the mystery that had tormented her for so long. Meanwhile, Mr. Carlos watched from afar, with attentive eyes and an unreadable expression. Lauren noticed concern in her employer's features, but she knew there was much more beneath the mask of the enigmatic man. The relationship with Andrew became an emotional anchor for Lauren. She clung to the pure and genuine love that the boy showed, fueling the flame of hope in her weary heart. Every playtime, every tight hug from Andrew was a reminder of everything she had lost. Lauren harbored a deep desire to connect with Andrew in a way that transcended the employer-employee relationship. She yearned to uncover the truth behind the familiarity she felt toward the boy. Mr. Carlos was a man of few words, but Lauren wondered about the stories that man could hold, about the secrets the mansion held. Perhaps it was the connection between two lonely souls, each carrying their own invisible scars. In the quiet of the nights, after her work was done, Loren would sit by the window of her small room in the mansion. She watched the stars in the sky, imagining where her son might be. Had he grown up without her, unaware of the truth of his origin? Unanswered questions haunted her like ghosts. As the days in the mansion passed, Loren noticed a special connection forming between her and Andrew, the son of her enigmatic employer. The uncommon affection shown by the boy stirred long-dormant feelings in Loren, her maternal instincts. Andrew was a special child. His innocence and genuine affection touched Loren's heart in unexpected ways. He sought her company, clinging to her as if Loren were more than just the mansion's housekeeper. As Loren became more involved in Andrew's life, her own heart began to open again to the possibility of caring and loving as a mother. Every laugh from the boy, every tight hug, revived a part of her that had been asleep since her own child was taken from her. The shared moments between Loren and Andrew became precious to both of them. Loren discovered the joy of playing, teaching, and soothing a child's heart. She realized that, unintentionally, Andrew was filling a void in her life, bringing light to a past marked by pain. However, behind the happiness Andrew brought, Loren harbored a silent anguish. She questioned the nature of the bond she felt with the boy. Was he a bridge to her own lost son? Or just an innocent child awakening her maternal instincts? Mr. Carlos observed the growing relationship between Loren and his son with discreet interest. The millionaire's expression became even more enigmatic as the days went by. Loren wondered what lay behind those penetrating eyes and the silence that seemed to hide deep secrets. While Loren surrendered to the maternal love blossoming in her heart, she maintained cautious vigilance over the secrets buried in Mr. Carlos's mansion. The presence of her employer seemed to cast shadows over her personal journey, and Loren knew she needed to stay alert to uncover the truth. Determined to understand the special connection she felt with Andrew, Loren decided to discreetly investigate more about Carlos's family. She began to observe subtle clues and ask careful questions to other mansion staff, hoping to unravel the secrets behind the mysterious man's life. During a casual conversation with one of the longest-serving maids in the house, Loren obtained a crucial piece of information. In a hushed tone, the woman confided to Loren that Andrew was not Mr. Carlos's biological son. He was, in fact, an adopted child. Loren absorbed this revelation with a mix of surprise and understanding. Everything began to fall into place in her mind. The discovery of the truth about Andrew opened up a new perspective for Loren. Now, a torrent of questions and possibilities flooded her mind. She wondered if this revelation could be a key piece to unraveling the mystery that had haunted her for years. When Loren asked Mr. Carlos about Andrew and learned that the boy was adopted from a poor family in Spain, she felt a surge of conflicting emotions awake in her heart. The news shook her emotional foundation, as she was almost certain that Andrew, the child she now cared for and loved as her own, was actually her own lost son from the day of birth at the hospital. A mixture of joy and anguish took hold of Loren. On one hand, there was a spark of hope blossoming in her heart, the remote possibility that her son was alive and within reach after all these years. On the other hand, the weight of uncertainty and lack of confirmation plagued her. She wondered if fate had placed Andrew in her path as a second chance, an opportunity to finally uncover the truth behind what happened on that fateful day. While Loren grappled with her tumultuous emotions, Andrew's constant presence in the mansion became both a blessing and a trial for her. Every smile, every hug from the boy reminded her of the love she felt for her lost son and fueled the flame of hope in her heart. However, the lack of confirmation of the truth was an open wound that continued to bleed. Loren found herself trapped in a cycle of longing and doubt, unable to find peace until the truth came to light. She questioned whether she should reveal her suspicions to Mr. Carlos or continue her silent search for answers. She wondered what role Mr. Carlos played in this whole story and whether he was aware of the connection between Andrew and her past. The search for answers became the centerpiece of Loren's existence in the mansion. She scoured her thoughts, looking for any clue that could confirm her suspicions. Every detail about Andrew became a piece in the puzzle of her tireless quest for truth. Although she didn't have much intimacy with Mr. Carlos, Loren decided to share her story with him. She felt it was time to seek the truth directly and decisively. Sitting before Mr. Carlos in his imposing office, Loren took a deep breath before narrating the painful events that had brought her there. She spoke about her lost son, the traumatic day at the hospital, and her lonely journey in search of answers over the years. Mr. Carlos listened attentively, his penetrating eyes revealing a mix of surprise and interest. Loren finished her story with a sincere request to conduct a DNA test between her and Andrew. She explained her reasons carefully, sharing her suspicions with a blend of hope and apprehension. The atmosphere in the office was tense as Mr. Carlos processed Loren's words. He remained silent for a moment before agreeing to conduct the DNA test. The impending twist brought a new wave of emotions to Loren, a mix of expectation and fear of what might be revealed. The days leading up to the DNA test were filled with palpable emotional intensity. Loren awaited the result anxiously. When the day of the test finally arrived, Loren was overcome by a torrent of emotions. She looked into Andrew's eyes, seeing familiar traits that had haunted her for years. The boy, unaware of the impact of their similarities, smiled innocently at Loren. The DNA test was conducted with caution and precision. Loren awaited the result with a racing heart, hoping that the truth would finally come to light. Every second of waiting felt like an eternity, with the weight of the past hanging over her. Finally, the moment of revelation arrived. Loren received the result of the DNA test, and to her of maternal love and concern. Mr. Carlos, on the other hand, faced a whirlwind of emotions. He had made the decision to adopt Andrew with genuine intentions to help a family in need, without any idea of the devastating repercussions it could have. Now, confronted with the truth, he found himself at a loss, unable to find words to express his distress. When the results of the second DNA test finally arrived, the impact was overwhelming for everyone. Once again, the test confirmed the genetic connection between Loren and Andrew. Mr. Carlos, seeing the results before him, fell silent, his expression revealing a mix of shock and dismay. Loren, in turn, faced a flood of intense emotions. The relief of having her intuition confirmed was counterbalanced by the pain of the circumstances that had led her there. She looked into Andrew's eyes, seeing unmistakable familiar traits, and felt a knot unravel within her. The silence that hung over Mr. Carlos' office was palpable. Finally, he broke the silence, his words laden with sorrow and regret. He explained to Loren his true intention behind adopting Andrew, and how he too had been deceived by a complex situation beyond his control. Mr. Carlos struggled to find the right words to ask Loren for forgiveness for all the turmoil that Andrew's adoption had caused in her life. Loren, in turn, faced the difficult task of forgiving and accepting the circumstances that had brought them together in such an improbable way. While everyone grappled with the weight of the revelations, Andrew remained at the center of this emotional whirlwind, an innocent child whose life was deeply intertwined with Loren's emotional journey. He looked at both of them, seeking to understand what was happening around him, unaware that he was the focal point of all those emotions. Moved by a mix of compassion and acceptance, Loren found in her heart the capacity to forgive Mr. Carlos. She understood that he too was a victim of circumstances, deceived by those who sought to exploit his generosity. Forgiving Mr. Carlos was not just an act of compassion, but a way to liberate herself from the painful past for Loren. With pardon, a new dynamic began to develop at Mr. Carlos's mansion. Loren, now recognized as Andrew's true mother, saw her role in the boy's life undergo a profound transformation. She was no longer just the dedicated housekeeper, but the maternal figure that Andrew desperately needed. Andrew, in turn, welcomed Loren's love and dedication with open arms. He embraced the idea of Loren as his mother with the innocence and trust of a child, feeling secure in her comforting presence. Mr. Carlos's invitation for Loren to live with them brought a unique opportunity for Loren and Andrew. They now had a chance to build a life together, surrounded by the comfort and privileges that wealth could provide. Loren found herself immersed in an environment of luxury and security, where she could raise her son with all the opportunities he deserved. Lauren's transition from housekeeper to Andrew's mother was a significant emotional milestone. She fully embraced this new role, dedicating herself with love and devotion to every aspect of Andrew's life. From education to leisure time, Lauren was determined to offer Andrew the best that life could provide. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you would have done if you were Lauren upon discovering that the child could be her missing son.